The experts are here. They have given you rich content, frontier knowledge. Just asked away.
Thank you. Good afternoon. This is Aldo from Manexo, Switzerland. My question is related to, on the SME's point of view, at least in Europe, but I think also in this region it may happen. Although we have listened today to many interesting instruments and things that may happen in the future, is the defense from SMEs to face banks and the markets and the problems and corporate governance so far was basically multiple. One of the weapons that we had as SMEs in Europe at least was putting ourselves together. So, question for Rajesh. We have instruments like consortiums, group of companies, aggregation of various concerns. Would you rate a group, a consortium as such? What is the mechanism that we'll use to rate a consortium? Is it composed of, say, 15 companies, getting a critical mass, getting the revenues enough to be visible and listened by the banks? And you, ladies and gentlemen, would you recognize groups of companies as such, as a whole? Or do we need a special regulation for that?
I don't think it would be feasible to do it for a consortium over here. Those data would be very useful to be able to do industry benchmarking, etc., where we can then place each of these companies along with the benchmark. But I don't think we'll be able to reach that stage directly. And this whole thing is quite a long journey, you know, on the transparency, the question that was raised by the earlier gentleman. It's cultural in these markets. It's also the strength of the regulator that they want to have the belief and faith to put it in. But I think it's a lot got to do with the cultural inhibitions also. When we create our business information reports, we find it difficult, even from very large companies, when we ask them the number of employees, they're not willing to divulge even the number of employees. Forget about the revenue and profits, you know. So this is a cultural issue. And as much as I may be advocating belonging to a company like Dun & Bradstreet, about 11 years ago, I was giving a talk to a group of bankers on the merits of transparency. And over the sumptuous lunch, one of the bankers came up to me and he said, you know, I'm coming to Bombay next week. Would you be free? I said, sure. He's saying, will you give me the DNB balance sheet? And I immediately took a step back and I said, why? You know? So I think these are a lot of cultural inhibitions that have to be overcome, but they have to be catalyzed by regulatory support and almost insistence.
So you don't have one in your experience in India or in Bangladesh?
No, it's improving. It's improving, and it's a long haul. In India, when we started Dun & Bradstreet, I started the company there 16 years ago for the corporation. And when we would call companies and ask for their information, they just would not share because there was a lot of hesitation. But over a period of time, they've started to realize why it's in everybody's benefit to be more transparent, and it's much better now than it was, you know, and it keeps getting better.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, this is the gentleman there.
My name is Om Khatri. I run a company here called Vision Soft. From all the presentations, it became very clear that the biggest challenge for SMEs today is to get access to the funds. And even whatever funding is available through the bank is available at very high rates. My suggestion is, why can't government take some actions on this and either give a guidelines to the bank to give the funding to SMEs after due diligence at a reasonable rate of interest, or even government create their own bank to help SMEs by giving the funding at a reasonable rate?
I guess I represent the government. I have to answer this question. Well, at Dubai SME, we do believe that government has to play a role in SME financing, either directly or indirectly. One of the key issues we face is that should we set up an SME development bank? It's a very tricky business because at the end of the day, we are government civil servants. We are not in the business of doing due diligence, commercial decisions that the market is best suited for. However, we can run policies. For example, we are going to do a major credit guarantee scheme whereby government offers credit guarantees to bank loans on a risk-sharing basis. This is very popular in Singapore and I think in India, as Rajesh mentioned. And we're going to experiment with that credit guarantee scheme, which works on the basis of economies of scale, and you reduce risks based on the fact that many SMEs participate in the scheme, many banks participate in the scheme. So that study is going to be launched in a couple of months' time, a major study that is going to have ramifications for the SME banking sector in Dubai. More details will be released in due course. Any more questions? Actually, I have a question to Tom. Basically, we wanted, well, at Dubai SME is keen to work with the branch, and we wanted to find out more about this RIADA program in terms of what are you looking for, what is your plan of development for the SMEs, or how are you going to find out who these SMEs are? I mean, you mentioned Dubai SME 100, but on your own, how do you seek out these companies?
So we have about 20 people, investment professionals, who are located in different countries around the region, who through their networks talk to local business communities, work out which companies are looking for finance or might need finance. We're typically looking at businesses with turnover in the range of $2 or $3 million up to about $20 or $30 million. Enterprise values in the range of 5 to 30 typically. These are normally entrepreneur, founder-led businesses that have been around for 2 or 3 years, have proven their business model, almost certainly are profitable today, but if not necessarily profitable, are about to turn profitable, but are extremely energetic companies that they're in a sector that's got growth potential. They themselves are probably the market leader or close to a market leader, and have got an aggressive business plan and strategy to transform, perhaps reach new markets, exports, new products, hiring of new staff, that sort of phase of their growth.
Okay. Basically, you're looking for a star first to be a bigger star. I mean,
yeah, it's about high impact companies that can double their size, treble their size, increase their employment base 2 or 3 times, and potentially inspire other companies in their sector as well. So we tend to invest for about a 4-year horizon or a 5-year horizon, and then with the entrepreneur, the founder, exit after 4 or 5 years, he or she will then look to do another business, hopefully.
okay. I mean, in short, you're looking for a gazelle, so to speak. Yeah. Okay. Next question, please.
I am Kaushal Dayal from KPMG. I have a question for Rajesh. One of the banker issues that you mentioned was the risk element of financing SMEs. Is that a perceived risk, or is there any information about, say, non-performing loans from the SME side?
No, I'm sure it's more than a perceived risk. I mean, lending in the absence of information surely would be increasing the risks. There's no question about it. Now, I don't have data for Dubai, but overall we have, I mean, I would like to believe that there is empirical evidence to suggest that, but I don't have the statistics to sort of back it up with.
If I could just reference the UAB, I think Dr. Saidi used in one of his slides, the UAB and IFC research on SMEs, and it goes into some of this detail. If you just come to me afterwards, I can give you the direct link for it.
Thank you.
This is Abbas Mirza, partner with Deloitte and the chairman of the auditors group at the Dubai Chamber. We've had some discussions with the SME group here, and we've been wanting to partner with you on the IFRS for SMEs that's just come out of the International Accounting Standards Board, set up in the UK. And as everyone is aware, IFRS has become accepted now, the world over, with over 100 countries adopting it. Then the new standard that's come out of the ISB specially applies to the SMEs, called the IFRS for SMEs. That's already been followed by more than 50 countries. The United States has taken a new chain of thought where instead of the FASB setting the US GAAP, they're trying to set up something called the Blue Panel, which is very similar and in the same way that the IFRS for SMEs is going to happen. So I think there is a very urgent need for you